Welcome to the Women's Hoop Show. Okay, so originally this episode was going to just be a full recap of the 2025 Commissioner's Cup final. And don't worry, we're definitely breaking down how the Indiana Fever stunned the league-leading Minnesota Lynx without Caitlin Clark. Natasha Howard put on a masterclass, and the Fever's defense was really, really good. And the Lynx, they did not show up, had their worst offensive showing of the season, so we'll dive into all of that. But there's been so much happening around the league that we can't ignore. We had huge matchups, breakout performances, and some wild news. Rumors of Aaliyah Edwards being traded, Julie Vanloo being waived, expansion teams announced, NaLyssa Smith's trade. A lot is going on, people, and we have to talk about it all. So honestly, each of these stories could have its own episode, but we're going to give you enough context, insight, and forward-looking analysis to get you fully caught up on what's happening, what it means, and what could happen next. Plus, we're sending flowers to people who deserve their flowers. That segment is sponsored by CashApp. All right, without further ado, let's jump in. Autumn Johnson, hello. We have to stop meeting like this.
Hello.
Where there's so
I love
to
it.
talk about.
You know I love the chaos. I love it. I live for it.
It is so much chaos, but let's dive in because we have a lot to talk about. And I want to start with the Commissioner's Cup. So, first of all, I was so excited for this Commissioner's Cup that I got the time wrong. I was sat ready, snacks, an hour too soon.
Oh, my girl was ready.
So
you were not playing no games.
So ready.
You're like, what's this? What do you mean we're still waiting for the program to start?
I know. It hits you, on Amazon Prime, it hits you. Yeah, it's not live until 5 p.m. Okay. Sorry. Too eager.
On West
Too
Coast
eager.
time. Wow. So you were sat at 4.
At 4 p.m.
Wow.
Did my grocery shopping, everything. I was like, 4 p.m. was just locked in my mind. But here's the thing. I was sat. I was ready. So when that 5 p.m. started, I was locked in. And I feel like the Minnesota Lynx were also locked in from the beginning. But the Indiana Fever ended up taking the win, 74-59. What was, in your words, in your opinion, the story of this game? Because I feel like we were on a roller coaster a little bit, and I'm shocked by the result. I'll say it.
Yeah.
This was not in our scenarios that we had talked about.
Yeah, no, we talked all scenarios. We discussed all the things, all the possibilities. This wasn't on my bingo card whatsoever. Obviously, the biggest story was Caitlin Clark is out, missing her 3rd consecutive game. For the money, I mean, one of the biggest stage in WNBA, for these players to come in and have an opportunity to have like a little bonus check. So some bragging rights as well. I did not anticipate them, going through the roller coaster ride they did and taking control of most of that, starting from the second quarter and beyond that. But my biggest takeaway is like this team can win without Caitlin Clark. And, Caitlin is someone who oftentimes is the hero. She makes those big time plays and timely minutes and moments. And we've seen that since her collegiate career and beyond. But this is why you bring in a Natasha Howard. This is why you bring in a Sydney Colson, a Sophie Cunningham. All of these big time acquisitions during the off season showed why they are here, and they have been, elevated as a championship contender because of that. We talked about inexperience last year with, Caitlin Clark coming in as a rookie. All of these, Indiana Fever players that we saw last year were just not too long ago our college favorites. They were lacking in that department. Now you add all these pieces, even Ari McDonald, who came in place of Caitlin Clark. It's been seamless, her coming in, as a starter and just a point guard for this team. I was really impressed, and I can only imagine that jump they're going to make with a Caitlin Clark when she's fully healthy. Obviously, you want her on the court. She's so exciting to watch, but you rather her sit out and be healthy when it counts the most. Obviously, the check is nice, but you want her to take you deep, possibly to the final stage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was waiting all day for the news if Caitlin was going to play, because I think I was preparing myself for a different game. You know, we talked
Yeah.
about all those scenarios. It was going to be MVP favorite NaLyssa Collier going up against Caitlin Clark's Fever. And once that
Mhm.
news kind of broke that Caitlin was going to be sitting this out, because agreed, I think it's a smart decision. It's
Yeah.
early July. This is the second day of July. We need to think about October when we're thinking about this team.
Oof.
So it makes sense. We got a long way to go.
You said October. I'm like, whoo, I didn't realize
Yeah.
early in July is crazy.
Yeah, we got some time. We
Wow.
got some time. So it makes sense. And it wouldn't have
Yeah.
made sense to try to force it. But with that news, Indiana Fever became a complete underdog. And I think everybody was counting them out. I put a poll, a very low stakes, a poll
I
on my
saw.
Instagram stories where I'm like, hey guys, this is what's happening. Who's going to win? 95% of the people chose the Lynx. And I think we were all thinking that. And at the beginning of the game, that's what I kind of started off by saying. It looked like that. That was the runner-up last season Lynx, the defense. How many shot clock violations did the Fever have? It was, NaLyssa Collier was getting her jumper. She had the touch, the turnaround shot. And then the worst thing happened was the first quarter ended for the Minnesota Lynx. That was the worst thing, for that buzzer to sound. The second quarter was a completely different story. They went on an 18-0. If you count after halftime, coming back in, it was 20-0 run by the Fever. And the Lynx did not score for almost 8 minutes of that second quarter. That can't
crazy
happen. That is crazy. And to me, and I wonder if you agree with this, because it's not necessarily that, I think their offensive flow for the Lynx side was a little, I think Courtney Williams was over dribbling sometimes. They weren't as crisp with their passes that they usually are. But I think Fee got really frustrated by the refs. I think the physicality by Aaliyah Boston, by Natasha Howard, really started getting in her head, and she couldn't move past it. And I think that's when I saw just something kind of not really connect with Fee, and that messed up her touch. She wasn't able to hit baskets. She finished with only 12 points. That's not like her. But I feel like it was a little bit of that physicality and a little bit of the refs that she was battling. What do you think?
1000%. And this was very uncharacteristic for the Lynx and for Fee. Like, we know Fee to play through anything and play with so much poise and composure. But I thought Aaliyah Boston, Natasha Howard, even Michaela Timpson for spurts of the moment had some really good minutes on her, trying to be physical as possible with Fee, because that's what you have to do. You have to make your presence felt. You have to limit her touch as much as you can. You can't stop her. You just try to pray and neutralize her, but you make things tough. And that's what they did. They were super physical, and you try to get in players' heads like that in that manner to take them out of their game, out of their swing. Only 6 points in the first half for Fee. Again, uncharacteristic. Even from the three ball, like, everyone is a 3-point shooter on this team. Only 25% from the arc. The ball movement wasn't as sharp as, we're used to seeing. The pick and roll action kind of died down. It was cold shooting. And a lot of these shots, I would definitely give credit to the Indiana Fever's defense, but a lot of their shots that the Minnesota Lynx took, like, these are their shots. Any other day, they're falling. Yeah. It seemed like a lid was on the basket at one point, but credit, I want to give all credit to Indiana's defense. I thought this was probably the best defensive performance we've seen from them this season. But that's credit to a Natasha Howard trying to make things as tough as possible. Like, yes, she had 16 points, but I was more impressed also with the defensive end and how she was able to be the steady Eddie for her team. So I would say it's a mix of both. Like, it's twofold for this game. The defense, obviously, for the Indiana Fever, but that was just a rough shooting night for the Minnesota Lynx, and it's just something that we're not used to seeing because of that 5-out action that we're used to seeing, that pick and roll, cutting movement without the basketball. It just wasn't in sync like we were used to.
Yeah, what a time to have to have this type of game and to lose your first game at home. But I'm with you. Going over to the Fever side, Ari McDonald got the start, but when Sydney Colson came in the ball game, things started to shift. And
Yeah.
everyone in the offense, it seemed like their shots became easier. And it was because of their defense kind of fueling that offense, giving them confidence. You could just see more and more as the second quarter started moving on. It's like, wait, okay, we can do this. Yeah, one stop at a time, one possession at a time. They were really taking it that way. And when you have someone like a Natasha Howard, I wrote down, I was taking notes in my notes app. This is why she was brought here.
Yeah.
Her championship experience, what she can do. I feel like this season we've seen spurts of it, but this game, 16 points, 12 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals. This is Natasha Howard, and this is why she gets the MVP. This is why she was such a big pickup in free agency. This is what we know she can do. 3-time WNBA champion. She's like, yeah, okay, championship. I know that word. I've been here before. I know what to do. And that was, to me, just like, yes, she is a centerpiece for this team, and she really showed out.
EuroLeague champ, all-star, 3-time champ. Like, she's done it all. And I thought Kelsey Mitchell put it perfectly. Like, she's been flying under the radar as a pro for so long. And
Yeah.
this is a reintroduction, like, hello, I'm here, Natasha Howard. You know the name and fear the name. I can
Mm-hmm.
go up against the best of the best. I can bang with the best of the best. Like, I'm so happy that she had this type of performance on this stage where it's nationally recognized. She is a critical piece and will be a critical piece to Indiana Fever's success moving forward without a Caitlin Clark, having that connection with an Aaliyah Boston down low. That front court, yeah, have it on your
Mm-hmm.
radar because Aaliyah Boston, she started off a little slow because there was a lot of physicality in the paint. Because without a Caitlin Clark, your number one option, you already have to
Yeah.
pick your poison with both. But now with that Caitlin Clark out of the equation, who do you focus on? Aaliyah Boston, who's having a career year right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought Natasha Howard did a great job, compensating down low. And that was able to open things up for Aaliyah Boston. They were able to find touches for her. She was able to bang down low with Nafisa Collier and work. She did her work early. She did it with her footwork. She did everything and more, got crucial rebounds. But when you have this tandem together, it's going to be hard to stop. And you think about the front courts in this league, you got to put them up there. And I think we're finally starting to recognize the importance that they have together and the
Mm-hmm.
connection that they're building together, especially with them assisting off of each other. I thought that was beautiful basketball between the two.
Oh yeah, the assists were wonderful to see, especially without a
Mhm.
Caitlin Clark on the floor. Aaliyah Boston finished with the also a double-double, 12 points, 11 rebounds, and 6 assists. And then there were 4 other players or 5 players in double figures total. So I think that was
Yeah.
this kind of balanced effort. And when I look on the other side of the coin, I was like, Kayla McBride, where are you? Natisha Heidemann, usually you have some buckets here and there to kind of spark your team. Bridget Carlton. So it was missing. Some players were MIA where everybody showed up, and it was definitely a team effort on the Fever side. I think Kelsey Mitchell had some really great moments. I think Sophie Cunningham had some key 3-pointers. Finished with 13
Back to
points.
back, too.
I know. I feel like it was kind of
Yeah.
a quiet 13, but she was able to come in and bring some big minutes. So, hey,
Mhm.
I did not have this on my bingo card. I did
No
not
one did.
think about this. But if history repeats itself, Minnesota
Oh,
Lynx, you are the WNBA champions.
there you go. No, these superstitions are crazy. Even the nugget about like the away teams, 4 straight away
Yes.
teams have won the Commissioner Cup. I didn't realize that. Like, you think you have the home court advantage, but the thing about it, the Indiana Fever, it doesn't matter what gym they walk into. They don't
True.
care. They've seen it all. They've heard it all. With that fandom, that stardom that they bring, it seems like it's almost in their favor. But I thought Minnesota had a great crowd, but they're used to that type of energy, whether it's going their way or going against them.
Yeah, the crowd was silent for a long time, though. I was like, gosh, this
Yeah.
is not like Minnesota. They didn't know what to do. They're like, we don't know whose team
They're
this
like,
is. We
uh-oh.
don't know how
Right.
to root for this team. But yeah, if superstitions serve us right, I think next season, if I'm a team, I'm like, okay, we need to be just good enough, but not the home team.
Not too
And then
much.
we need to not win the Commissioner's Cup game. And then the end of the season will be in our favor.
There we
Crazy,
go.
crazy stuff. Last thing that is kind of a topic that was kind of brought up about this Commissioner's Cup, because the big thing about this is the money. You know, that's what was motivating Courtney Williams. That's what she said before the game, but they did not come out and play like it. But you get this check at the end. It's a $500,000 prize pool. And then Natasha Howard, for winning the MVP, she gets an extra $5,000 right on top. But Caitlin Clark went on Sydney Colson's Live, which is a prestigious platform at these type of events. She said you get more for the Commissioner's Cup than you do if you're a champion. And she said she called out Kathy Engelbert to kind of help us out there. That doesn't really make sense. You get about $250,000 as a team, which is about $20,000 as a player if you win the actual championship, and you get more money for winning the Commissioner's Cup. What do you think about that? That's really interesting. I don't think I realized that was the case.
I didn't either. And I don't know about you, but I'd rather be the WNBA champs.
Yeah.
When it's all said and done. I think everyone can agree with that across the board, because this is what you work for. This is the ultimate goal. This is, why you create these like teams that can compete with the best and hope that no one can touch you down the stretch, because you want to be able to be the last one standing, hoisting up that trophy. But it is crazy to think that there's such a difference. And I even remember a couple of weeks ago, Courtney Williams was talking about on her stream how, during the playoffs, the postseason, the check isn't even like worthy enough. Like
it's crazy.
Here we are on the final stage in a game 7, and I'm walking away with, I can't even remember the number, but we'll say
it's around, I looked it up. Yeah, I looked it up. So in the CBA, the bonus is like around 5,000, but it's like an extra what? 2 months of playing, and you get $5,000.
I'm sacrificing my body.
Yeah,
I am the best of the best. I'm competing for the WNBA championship. I'm one of the best in the world, and I only get 5,000.
Yep.
That's crazy to me. So I definitely think that needs to be changed. These players deserve it in more. Yes, it is. It's a nice incentive to have that bonus, but like, come on.
Come on now.
They're worth so much more. It's almost a slap in the face to me.
Well, speaking of a slap in the face, real quick on this topic, Satu Sabali said that she was asked about the CBA negotiations, and she is a player rep, and she said the first offer that the league kind of gave to the players was a slap in the face. That was a quote from her. And so this is some of the things that will be mentioned in that new CBA. We're going to talk later in the show about expansion teams, but I just loved what she said. Satu has had her foot on Kathy's neck the whole season so far. She is not letting up. She has been so outspoken about what her fellow players and professional athletes deserve. And I think this is an ongoing conversation. And I think it is interesting that this is coming from Caitlin Clark, saying, hey, this doesn't make sense. Kathy, what are you going to do about it? If this was another player, maybe it wouldn't have, caught on, or maybe people wouldn't have quoted it as much. But this is coming from Caitlin herself. So I think there's so many conversations when we talk about money and when we talk about the CBA that need to be had. But Satu is not letting it go silently.
As she should. No,
she is
as she
very
should.
loud and proud.
This is their job. Like, Jordan,
Yeah.
imagine asked to do more work for a long period of time and sacrifice your body. And, you're being asked to do so much
No.
for 5,000. What would you say?
No.
Like,
No,
yes,
thank
you
you.
love it. Yes, you love it, but you know your worth. Yes,
I
you want to do
know.
it. Yes,
And it's such a trap.
opportunity.
It's such a
Yeah,
trap,
it
right?
is a trap.
Because you are wanting to be able to have that opportunity to say WNBA champion. And for some, that's priceless. You can't put a price on that. But in the same time, you have to be able to know your worth and know how much time something could happen where you aren't getting paid ever again. So you need to make sure that the risk is the same as the reward. And that's not matching up right now. And an in-season tournament should not amount to more money than at the end of the season being the best team the whole season long. That doesn't, the math ain't mathin'. That doesn't actually make sense at all. So
it's backwards. It's definitely backwards. I understand a lot of that money goes to charity too, but like it definitely is backwards to me when you think about, the gap. The gap is massive.
Fix it. All right. Let's take a break. When we come back, we are going to do some game recaps and also talk about all these trades. What's going on? Ooh. This is crazy. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Women's Hoop Show. So since we've last recorded, since this is dropping on Wednesday, there have been some games since then, and some good games, some important games, some close games. And let's go through them real quick and just give kind of our thoughts and what's surrounding each team. So one I want to start with is that overtime game between the Minnesota Lynx and the Atlanta Dream. The Lynx pulled that off. That was not the Lynx that we saw last night, because 96-92. Last night, the Lynx only scored 59 points. So Collier went off for 26. Kayla McBride had 18, including clutch free throws in OT. She surpassed 5,000 points. Courtney Williams had 16. Bridget Carlton had 14. It was like an incredible performance. And then on the other side, Atlanta, I don't even know how many of those players are in double figures. It was everyone across the board, with Bree Jones leading the way with 18 points. What was it like you were there, right? What was it like to be at that game? Oh, you're in studio.
It was on a Friday, so I had it up on the screen. Okay. It was on Ion. I just, I was in the studio. But
okay. Well, you were still in the mix. We know you were in the mix somehow.
I was definitely locked in because, I ride for the Dream for sure. But what a crazy day in the A too, because the sky was literally falling. So there was a lot of storms in the area. Flights were getting canceled because my summit was the next day. A lot of people were texting me, like telling me of the issues that were happening in Atlanta, but we're in a studio. So it's kind of like, it's like a little dead zone. You don't know what's happening in the real world, but it was bad. So there was some power outages. There was some delays. I thought when I was watching, though, like it felt like a playoff preview, two teams who could absolutely, make some noise in the postseason. And the difference maker to me was Minnesota's experience and chemistry and togetherness at the end of the day. Like the Atlanta Dream they're a title contender, and there's no doubt about that. They're being entered into this conversation, but Minnesota Lynx, I think the difference maker for them is late game execution. That's something that they know to a T. The Dream are still trying to get there. So I think that's their next step. Coach Carl Smezko has preached the same thing, but Napheesa Collier, she returned after a 2-game absence. She immediately reminded everyone that this is why she's an MVP candidate. This team goes as she goes. She had 26 points, those clutch free throws to force overtime. Kayla McBride also in that mix as well. Their resilience shine through, their togetherness. And this is a game that the Dream should have won. Like that was in full control for them. 38-15 run. They were at home, 6 players in double figures, 52-24 in the paint. I think if the 3 ball would have got going for them more, it would have been a different story. But Minnesota showed why they have, that championship composure in tight games. And Fia McBride, they're as clutch as it gets.
Oh, yeah. And then for Atlanta to kind of bounce back, a couple days later and defeat the New York Liberty 90-81, that was a really big game for them just to be able to, especially because of, the way that they lost the last time to the Liberty. I think that was also just something to get their confidence up.
Yeah, I think that wasn't just a win for Atlanta. That was also a statement. It was a reminder that they belong in any contender conversation. You had Bree Jones, who I think is an unsung hero on this team. She had a season high. The Dream overall had about 62 points in the paint, if I want to say. It was 60 plus for sure, but on the back of Bree Jones and the guards getting inside, getting good looks. Ryan Howard left with an injury, an upper body injury. She's day to day, so we're going to take a look at that. But the fact that your star is out and you have other pieces, I think that's the difference maker for the Dream, is their depth that they have. Now, granted, Liberty, they're not in full health, obviously, with Jake out. She's a huge piece of what they do. Leonie Febish is also out with EuroBasket. So you kind of like look at those differences. Sabrina didn't have the best game also when it comes to shooting wise, but Atlanta still, they should be taken seriously, especially in the East. They're deep, they're versatile, they're balanced, and they play free. Like, I love their style of basketball this year.
Yeah, Alicia Gray being named an all-star starter is just, I think everyone in the league, if you are not happy about that news, there's something wrong with you. Like, she has worked so hard and deserves this. She had 20 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists in that win over the Liberty, had 10 points just in the fourth quarter. She was balling out, and she has been all season long. So I love that she was named an all-star starter. But yeah, New York, real quick. Ooh, it's not looking good. They've been dropping, especially after their really hot start earlier in the week, last week. They lost to Phoenix, which is a really good team, but 106-91, Phoenix got them. And New York is just very much missing JJ. You mentioned those points in the paint, just her presence, not only her scoring ability, but even on the defensive end. Febish has been reactivated, so hopefully we can see her soon. I think her scoring and her length on the defensive end will also, they miss her. I think I saw Tosh tweet it, was like, yay, congrats, come home, come back now. So they are ready. They are ready for them to be at full strength, because we've seen what that team is when they are at 100%. So that has been interesting. But speaking of Phoenix, Las Vegas and Phoenix had a battle in the desert, and that went down to the wire. Aces were able to pull that out 84-81. They snapped the Mercury's 6-game winning streak. The Mercury, hottest team in the W. I think this gave the Aces a little more confidence to that they're doing something right. So that Asia is still Asia. 26 points, 18 rebounds. Yeah, she's still very, very much her.
Really girl. Very much so.
Very much so. But also, so they get this win, and then we hear that a trade happened. I'm kind of weaving all this together. But NaLyssa Smith is now going to the Aces. And I want to talk about that really quick, because we have talked about what is going on in Vegas. What do they need? What are they missing? And do you think NaLyssa Smith is a good piece to kind of right the ship of the season?
I want to see it. Obviously, coming into this season, during the off season, we all knew A'ja Wilson needed a premier big to run alongside, because you see how defenses are collapsing on her. She's going to find a way. Like, nothing can stop A'ja Wilson. But it would be nice, like, when you look at successful teams, a lot of it is, leaning on the post play, because you have a 4 who can stretch things out for you so the 5 can operate. And right now, the Aces don't have that. It is all leaning on Asia's back. So I'm curious to see what this looks like with NaLyssa. We've seen her at her peak, just not a good fit with the Dallas Wings. And I want to see, how she works alongside Asia Wilson. Obviously, that chemistry component is going to be something that's going to be first things first. But NaLyssa is a player who can stretch the floor. She can hit the midi. She's developing a three. She can bang inside down low. Like, she can go wherever you need her to go. So Asia can operate down low, and Asia can also stretch the floor as well. So it can be an interchangeable thing, some high-low action. So I need to see it, but I don't hate it at all. I love the moment even earlier this season that Asia Wilson brought NaLyssa over and was coaching her like, hey, instead of this, do that for a counter moves.
Yeah.
And
Mid-game.
Mid-game,
yeah.
giving her pointers of how she can, take advantage of her defense. You know what I mean? So to have that, to learn from one of the greatest, it's going to do wonders for her career. And now you're in a championship environment. How can that not fuel you? Working alongside of the greatest in this world, how does that not fuel you to want to get better every single day?
So true. And, even though Kurt Miller is breaking up families between NaLyssa Smith and Dejanay Carrington, just heartbreak emojis all over the place. Everybody was very shocked by this because it was such a big deal to have Dejanay and NaLyssa on the same team. It was very short-lived, and NaLyssa Smith said, "Take care of the kids for me." It's like a picture of them and their dogs. I'm like, this is so sad.
So sad. We're like,
gosh,
why would you do this to all of us? I was not ready.
I did not. Here's the thing. Kurt Miller got into this GM role and was like, yeah, we're making middle of the season trades. This is his second one, maybe even third. No, Leroux and this one. He is wheeling and dealing, and this is, I can't stress this enough, and I was trying to express this to the producers. Like, this doesn't really happen that much. Like, I think the signing of hardships and the waiving, that part is normal. Yeah. But the trades for draft picks, like, in the middle, at this point, as we're getting closer to that kind of mid-season trade deadline a little bit, that doesn't really happen that often. So Kurt Miller is kind of doing some things. He's trying to figure it out, trying to figure out Dallas. I don't know. I don't know who they're going to pick up. I don't know if it has been announced yet who they're going to fill that roster spot. Are they going to leave it open? But Vegas had to make room for NaLyssa Smith, so they had to waive Liz Kitley and Tiffany Mitchell. So everyone's just shuffling, and it feels like it doesn't feel like anyone is like safe. Nothing is really solid right now.
No, because the Liz Kitley wave was actually very shocking to me. I think she has a lot of upside. Like, this is the 3-time ACC Player of the Year. She hasn't had a true full chance to show all that what she could do because she's coming off of, injury. This is the first time we're really seeing her working alongside Asia Wilson. But obviously, to gain, you got to lose. So I just didn't think they were going to lose that piece. I thought it was interesting bringing in Leroux when you have a NaLyssa Smith. So obviously, they're trying to make some changes there. And they got to figure out quick. Like, you got to think for this Dallas Wings team, there's a lot of pressure. You brought in the number 1 pick who is an all-star playing lights out. She's very efficient. You got a premier guard in Arike Gumbawale. Dejanay Carrington is coming off one of her best seasons. And you have the pieces there. Why isn't it working? So there's a lot of questions that need answers. And it seems like that's where the shakeup is coming from. Like, you got to find something quick. Obviously, there's room for development, but for a lot of these, players like an Arike Gumbawale, she's been there for some time and wants to see it now. You got to put players in a position to be successful and do the best for your franchise. And I think that's exactly what we're seeing.
Yeah. And I mean, to Kurt Miller's credit, most GMs and most teams wait until the end of the season to make all these changes. And he is being proactive and trying to find solutions in the middle of it, in the middle of the rough spots. So I think a lot of people would have just been like, oh, all right, this is a wash. Next season, let's kind of retool. But especially because nobody knows where they're going to be next season, he's not waiting till then. So I do give him that credit. we'll see if it works out, if it's a positive, if they start winning some more games. But that's TBD. For a team that it is
Love
working
that
out
point.
for, just want to throw out the Golden State Valkyries
Oh, yes.
are continuing to look incredibly great. And they handed Seattle just the biggest L that
Beat down.
you could. 84-57. We have seen those crowds, and it is absolutely amazing. In that game specifically, Tiffany Hayes, 21 points. Veronica Burton, 15 points. Letitia Amihere, 15 points, 8 rebounds. Timmy Fagbinley was back. So many positive things to say about the Valkyries, but we kind of have to put a little asterisk on it for this episode because Julie Vanloo was coming back from EuroBasket, just won a championship. Huge. Forfeited her time to celebrate with her team, hopped on a plane to immediately come back to San Francisco, and was waived upon arrival. Now, we don't know, and I don't know anyway, the whole story, but how it looks like it unfolded on social media is her posting a picture from the plane saying, so happy to be back in the foggy city. And the next post in her story, seeing a social post of her being waived and her reacting saying, I just got here. This is heartbreaking. And that makes me think that there was not a previous conversation had between the front office of the Golden State Valkyries and her, especially not if she even got on the plane, first of all.
Right.
So that is horrible and really poorly done by the front office. And I just think that sucks. I don't even have an articulate way to say that.
Yeah, I'm over here pulling up, her graphic when she shared her message to fans and how she's feeling. It almost reminded me of the Natasha Cloud situation where she didn't even know she's finding out with the rest of us. But it hurt reading that. Like she mentioned, after traveling 18 hours back to the Bay, I missed the fan ceremony and the chance to share that special medal moment with my family and friends. And honestly, that stung. Like to me, that's the part that got me. She talked about how she felt like this was her place. Like she felt like she was Bay Area through and through. This was a good fit for her on and off the court. She was thriving. She's a part of history. She's not going to be sour about it, but it sucks. Like you read it, you read everything that she put, and your heart goes out to her for sure. I don't know. It's a business. I understand that, but it sucks when you hear these kind of stories for sure.
Yeah, it doesn't sit right with me. It makes me really uncomfy because it is a business, but there's a right way to do business. There is still a process that we have to be able to follow to make sure that we're not blindsiding players and uprooting their lives. We know that part is going to happen, but if you knew that you were going to waive her, there is conversations that could have been had. But on the other side of that, the Valkyries are playing really well. And this is a little bit of the repercussions of going and deciding to go play EuroBasket. Not saying that, Julie Vanloo is an incredible player, but when you're gone and when you're away from the team and the people that you bring in ball out of control, your spot could be taken. And I think now, honestly, I wonder if this is going to kind of reverberate in future years. If people are like, ooh, okay, I have a contract right now. Should I go play or should I just solidify my spot? Because it can be taken. Julie Vanloo was not on a guaranteed contract. So when you know that it's not a guarantee, it leaves too much in the air a little bit. And unfortunately, this is what happened.
Woo! It sucks. I mean, you beautifully put that. No notes. Literally, I'm going to echo everything that you said because yeah, that's a rough situation to be put in. Like obviously, you want to have that honor. You want to go off and win a chip and honor your country. Like that to me is very valuable to the player itself. Like that's also important to them. But when you're not on a guaranteed contract, that's when things get sticky and you have it's a cutthroat league. Like spots are limited. You have every single day someone coming after your spot. Like no one is for sure in this league. No matter, what you bring to the table, someone else is looking to do the same thing and they're hungry. So it's not anything malicious on anyone else's end. It's just like it's the business and it's the ecosystem of the WNBA right now.
Yeah.
Limited spots, limited roster spots, limited teams. That's why I'm excited about the expansion. But going back to like the decency of the conversation needed to be had with these players if they do go off and if they're getting cut, a conversation needs to be had. Like, absolutely. Period.
Yeah. Unfortunately, with it being so cutthroat, other players coming in to fill in for EuroBasket players aren't thinking, okay, I'll keep the seat warm for you. They are coming to take your job. Like that's the point of being signed. And they are trying to keep a job. So that with there being such limited roster spots and limited teams, that's everybody's mindset. It can't be sometimes always buddy or yeah, I'll hold it for you when you get back. Caitlin Shin was like, I'm trying to get a job. I'm trying to get my job back. So there is a whole other level to that. But let's take a quick break. And then when we come back, we'll talk about expansion because this is something that is needed so that there is more roster spots out there. We'll take a quick break. Alrighty. Welcome back to the Women's Hoop Show. And we got, WNBA Mondays are notoriously for dropping huge news because there's not games that day. So I feel like the W just saves up what the biggest news is and just drops it on us on a Monday. And this past Monday, it was about expansion. And 3 new cities are going to have WNBA teams. So we're going to have 18 WNBA teams by 2030. Cleveland coming in 2028, coming back. Detroit coming back in 2029. And Philadelphia 2030. All of my Philly friends texted me like in unison saying how happy and excited and about time. So Philly, I am so happy for you because you have been wanting this so bad. But this is on top of Portland and Toronto coming in 2026, Golden State Valkyries in 2025. And I think everybody is looking at the Valkyries and saying, we want that. How can we make
the blueprint?
That
Yes, they're the blueprint.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I think that is a different vibe. Like if the Valkyries were in last place and it was still kind of some buzz and it's like, okay, like this was expected. That's okay. No, everybody's like, we could be in 5th place in the first season. We can make the playoffs in year 1. Like that's just a different conversation now. But what are your thoughts about expansion? What are your thoughts about these 3 new destinations for WNBA teams?
Where do I begin? So many thoughts. So many thoughts. Obviously, with expansion, that means more spots. That means more opportunity. So I'm very happy that the league is, getting to this space because it's hard when you watch your college favorites and they get cut. Only a couple, those like lottery picks hold on to their spots, but someone who's so deserving doesn't get a fair opportunity, doesn't get a fair chance because there's simply not a lot of spots. Our favorites who go off overseas and maybe they have an opportunity to come in or maybe they don't now have room to play in this league. And we might see more international play. It's not even a might. We will see more international play. We're seeing with Golden State Valkyries what they've been able to do. And many people scratch their heads like, okay, there's talent out here, but there's a lot of international stars. They can hoop. we already know that. And if you have played Euro basketball, you know that. You've seen the competition. Golden State Valkyries, the blueprint, we're going to see more of that. There's a lot of good to this. I'm excited about the cities that we're getting. I know there was a lot of conversation on that,
Yeah.
and a lot of people disagreed, but I'm leaning on the side of like history
Yeah.
and returning. You know what I mean? Like, it's really cool to have those vintage squads come back, and it's really cool for Philly, who is a sports city, who rides and shows up for their fan base. Like, there had to be numbers that, obviously a lot of data that the league is looking into to see, like, will this be successful?
Mhm.
Bay Area breeds basketball. Successful spot. Got it right. Toronto, we've seen, WNBA games hosted there.
Yes.
I think that's going to be a successful spot. Portland, had a team there, but also, when you look at soccer in WSL, how they show up for them, it's going to be really cool to see how these fans show up and show out. And obviously they've done the research to know that, okay, this can be very successful. And also they have the resources to do it, the facilities to do it. So I'm excited. I'm excited for teams to come back, and I'm excited for new cities to enjoy this. Like, I think about little girls who have not been able to experience WNBA in their city who get to. I will say, being a girl from the South,
yeah,
I was a little sad. I'm not gonna lie. I was a little sad.
yeah.
I'm like, dang, we got one team. Like, what's going on here?
The map
Which is cool.
is crazy.
I live by it. The map is insane. I will say that. I'm extremely lucky. I'm a girl from Augusta, so I was 2 hours from Atlanta, and now I live in Atlanta, so I'm down the street 20 minutes. It's cool. But I can only imagine Charlotte, Florida, you know what I mean? Nashville. I can only imagine how they're feeling.
For sure. I think that was, so yes, it is so positive, and it is so, I feel like it goes without saying how positive this is, and the investment that these teams and these people are wanting to make and in women's basketball in the WNBA, putting their money up and saying, this is a business opportunity. We are going to make money. We saw that the Valkyries are now evaluated at $500 million after paying, $200 million or so to get in. So they've already profited. Now we want to get in. And I'm sure there is a line wrapped around the building from cities and people wanting to get in. So now the other side of that conversation is exactly what you're saying. Geographically, there are some question marks. Like, was that in consideration, or was it just really zoning in on the cities and what they could bring and what the offers? Because now just that East Coast leg of a road trip is like, you're gone for 2 weeks. Like, why would you fly back and forth? So that part is really interesting. Or a team like Atlanta just having to travel really far for every single team. So there's that part.
That's a good point.
And then there's the side of, the conversation around other teams, other cities that have put bids in, like Nashville, like the, Tennessee Summits. And that is very much backed by, which is just a great name. We already have the name. We already got the colors. We already got the fans. So it's like, we see that. We see, I talked to Fran Harris, a Texas legend. We talked to her early in the season, and she wanted to put a team up. They put a bid in for Austin, and it's a lot of, former WNBA players and businessmen kind of putting their money together to say, bring it to another team to Texas. And so, I believe the Nashville team, like, they put out a statement saying that the WNBA is kind of leaning more towards NBA franchises, which is, you talked about history. This is what happened at the very beginning of the WNBA. This isn't a Hoop Root section, but I can go if we want to get there.
You can go there.
That's how the WNBA started. It had to be with NBA teams and franchises just because of the infrastructure being already there and the idea that, they have an NBA team, so we know that they have the receipt of being successful just because of their NBA side. So a team like Cleveland, who was there, were the Rockers. But then when times got tough in 2003, they were one of the first teams to peace out. They were like, let's cut ties. Like this WNBA thing is not working. We've had it for a few years. Let's cut it off. Now, this is different ownership since then, but it's just this whole concept of, should the WNBA be wanting and offering bids to former players? You know, Candace Parker is a part of the Tennessee Summits. Like, there are former WNBA players that have true roots in this league and want to put money back into it. And the league is still saying, like, they're still gripping onto their NBA and that being familiar and saying, let's stick to that. I think that Golden State is a great example of how it's working. You know, let's keep doing that. But then you have someone like the Las Vegas Aces. Yes, they've come from a line of NBA teams, but Las Vegas NBA teams are wanting to come to Las Vegas because of the WNBA team. Like, that is also an example of how it can work on its own as well. So that's kind of my spiel about, I feel excited, but I'm also like, dang, I want at least one of these teams, maybe in the next batch, to be WNBA player centered, and maybe it's in the South, and maybe it's, you know, other aspects to it. So that's kind of my soapbox about it, but I'm still excited.
I love it. Points were made, Jordan. That was, you are speaking, dropping gems today, girl. But I agree, like, the excitement is there. And I think of a Candace Parker, like you just mentioned, you know, for Nashville, that's already there. And I think of a Dawn Staley, Charlotte Hornets, like, excuse me, that area being in the Charlotte area, you still have the Hornets in that area. So, like, if an NBA team, if that's what you want to lean on, but you don't have to have that as, like, your bread and butter. Like, you can go off and be successful. You know, even people are, like, speculating Dawn Staley's contract for South Carolina.
I did see that.
30. You know what I mean? Like, people are going to ride for Dawn. That would be insane. But the excitement, the love, the passion for these players, these former players, these GOATs individually, these investors who would pour into it, it would already be taken care of. So there's nothing to worry about. You brought up a really good point about travel, though. Like, you also have to make sure that you're taking care of the players, because we're already in a 44 game season. We're seeing this thing about slumps, and who was it? Kelsey Plum was like, because we're tired. What do you mean? Like, we're exhausted. Like, it's not a slump. We're just tired. So that is going to cause some shakeup. Obviously, the biggest conversation Cam Brink brought it up so well. Like, you need to add roster spots before anything. We're going to be having expansion drafts until 2030, probably even beyond. You know what I mean? So we saw how that went down with the Golden State Valkyries. Obviously, it was a huge success. A lot of players didn't, or a lot of teams didn't have to, like, worry too much. But you think about, like, Kayla Thornton, who got pulled from that defending champion squad. She was a fan favorite. You know, we saw in Cleveland, I think it was a BR or maybe Yahoo, they put up, like, which star could be the face of this franchise. And I saw Naz Hillman on Cleveland because she's from Cleveland. I'm like, no, you can't have her. No, what do you mean? Obviously, Letitia here with Toronto. You got Cameron Brink with Portland. Like, obviously, these could be some fun faces, but you think about fandom and, like, pulling those stars. That could be a thing. I don't know. You just always have to worry about making people happy, too. It's going to remind me of, like, college basketball. Like, talking to a lot of coaches, they don't get off time because they're continuously recruiting, not just outsourcing, but, like, in their own locker room to keep their players. So that's also a thing. That's my soapbox. It's a lot.
That's a good point. I mean, I know our friend Matt Allentuck, he made a good point too, especially with the CBA ending. He's like, don't buy jerseys, you guys. With expansion drafts and the CBAs, we don't know where anybody's gonna end up. But I think
look completely different.
It's gonna look so different. But I think we would be naive to think that, you know, Kalia Copper isn't looking at that Philly team like, how can I end up there? How can I end up playing for my home? How can I end up playing for my hometown? Like that, I'm sure those thoughts are swirling in the players' minds. But overall, just super, super excitement. And I know that yesterday's price is not today's price. The price is going up for the WNBA. And I love it. I love it. I'm so excited. They already got their merch out. The cities are excited as well. So that has been fun to see. Let's send some flowers. It's time for Sending Flowers, sponsored by CashApp. Making money moves should be easy, and that's why there's CashApp. It's fast, safe, and honestly, just way more personalized than other apps out there. Autumn Johnson, who would you like to send a bouquet to this week?
You know I love sending bouquets. Because I have two. Usually my flowers are always positive, like championing these women, celebrating them. One of those flowers will be just that. But we just mentioned it, Julie Vanloo. I hope she's doing well. I hope she is taking time for herself. I hope she understands her worth and her value. And this is just a moment in her career. This does not define her. She's going to use this story to come back bigger and better than ever. And, I just hope she's well during this time. My other flower goes to Natasha Howard because here she is. Like, come on, stop sleeping on these greats that were already in our game. Like, I think it's typical. It's human nature to have recency bias. Like, we have all these great stars: Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, Cameron Brink, Rakia Jackson, like the star-studded rookie class alone, Asia Wilson, Nafisa Collier. It is a league filled with the best of the best that sometimes you forget about the unsung heroes, but Natasha Howard, her having that type of game on that stage, I love it for her. I want more of that for her. And you can't just say, like, this is Caitlin Clark's team, this is Aaliyah Boston's team, this is Kelsey Mitchell's team. You got to look at it as a whole. They're very deep. You got to think and respect a 3-time champion in the same breath.
I love it. Great flowers. Great flowers. Great flowers. I also have two. So my first one, sticking with that fever, we're gonna give one rose and we're gonna split it into one bouquet, and we're gonna split it into because Ari McDonald and Sydney Colson.
Oh yay!
For Ari McDonald, you get waived by the Sparks. I was scratching my head at that. Then you go to the Fever, you show your value immediately to the point where when you get waived, everyone was like, okay, it's fine. They're going to bring her back. Like, they have to bring her. She has to be a part of this team. And what she did moving into the starting lineup, like if you would have told her in April that she would be starting in the Commissioner's Cup game for the Indiana Fever, I don't think she would have believed you. But she stayed ready, and she has always been that type of player, even back at Arizona. Like, she is just so feisty and stays ready so she doesn't have to get ready. Sydney Colson is somebody that you love and you follow and you laugh with, and she is an incredible person. But what her role has changed this late in her career to come into a Fever team that said, we need your leadership, we need your experience. And with Asia Wilson saying Sydney Colson is one of the best leaders that I've ever been around. And then to have the minutes to back it up and the production to back it up. And for so long had to hear people say that you are a bench warmer and you don't play. And she just always blocked it out because she always knew what she could do. She always knew that she was a hooper. Yes. And so I love this for her. I love this role for her. I love that. So the guards there, I know it's a tough place to play in Indiana, especially behind Caitlin Clark, but they are doing really, really well. So I'm really happy. Okay.
I love those.
Thank you. I have one more.
Oh,
one more bouquet, and that is to you, Autumn, because you put on your summit, and I have been liking all of the photos, all of the videos, and it is so cool that you put that on for women in this business, in this industry, and you had big time hitters there as mentors. And I know that it takes a lot of work and a lot of things behind the scenes, but it has been amazing to just relish in the content of it. But I'm sure all of the young women being there were changed, enlightened, inspired.
Oh
So
my gosh.
flowers to you.
I was not expecting that. Not me tearing up. I was not expecting that. Thank you so much. This
You're welcome.
this past weekend has been very overwhelming in a good way. Obviously chaotic trying to put an event together. I am not an event coordinator. Somehow that's added to my resume, but also overwhelmed with just like so much like love and gratitude and I'm very happy. I'm very, very happy with the turnout. This is something that was so important for me because I didn't have it. So to give it back is incredible. To see everyone show up in that room. It was real. It was authentic. It was a vibe. It was a learning opportunity. It was beautiful. And to give women their flowers as they deserve it, I'm still trying to process it and put it into words, but it was such a cool weekend to witness. We got to get you over here, Jordan.
Yeah, let's go. That's what I'm saying. I was just watching from the West Coast, like, gosh, hi guys, look at all of my friends in one place.
Fly my sis out immediately.
No, I love it. I'm so happy for you. It looked amazing. And to many, many more. Many, many more. I love that. All right. Well, that was Sending Flowers, sponsored by CashApp. As you heard me say at the top of the show, new CashApp users can use our code to get free money. Use our code Hoopers, send $5 to a friend within 14 days, and you'll get $10 right in your account. Thank you, CashApp. And thank you, Autumn, for being great and amazing and for talking through all of this past week with me. I feel like we did it. Girl. We did it. We got it all in.
Let's do it again because I already know there's going to be more.
Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to follow on your favorite podcast app so you never miss an update. Your support means the world. And if you're feeling generous, leaving a quick rating or review helps more Hoops fans discover the show. And you can now see us on our brand new YouTube channel. Make sure to like and subscribe there. Shoot us an email at women'shoops@odyssey.com to tell us what's on your mind. We want to hear your hottest takes, your burning questions, and all your feelings about all things women's hoops. We just might feature your note on the show. That's women'shoops@odyssey.com. The Women's Hoop Show is an Odyssey original podcast hosted by me, Jordan Robinson. Today, our co-host was Autumn Johnson. Our producer is Phil Sweetek. Our video team is led by Kurt Courtney and includes Tim Meikle, Evan Cox, Allison Jeffrey, and Lauren Vieira. Our executive producers are Greg Holtzman, Asha Saluja, Danny Freisinger, Maddie Sprunkeiser, and Leah Reese-Dennis. And special thanks to Moira Curran and Josephina Francis.